Greetings. You know, we're really excited right now because we just wrapped up a teaching series on marriage, and it really blessed this church in some phenomenal ways. I mean, it really did. But you know, what I've come to discover over the years is that sometimes before you can teach people how to be a husband or how to be a wife, you have to actually go in there and deal with the underlying issues that prevent the people in the marriage from actually entertaining the idea that functioning at that level is even possible. I mean, wouldn't you agree, sweetie?
That's absolutely true. But without further ado, let's go in and eat from the spread table.
Right, we'll be right back. Don't touch that dial. At the 26th verse in Ephesians, the Bible says, "Be you angry and sin not." Okay? Be angry, but don't sin. Don't let the sun go down upon your wrath. Okay? So he's talking about be angry, but don't let it become sin. And then he says, don't let the sun go down on your wrath. Wrath is interesting because wrath means, Brother Brown, embedded anger. The anger we have in us, but nobody sees unless the right button is pushed. It's a buildup. So he said, don't let the sun go down on your wrath. So first start out with anger. He said, then don't let it become sin. Then don't let the sun go down on your embedded anger. Your embedded wrath, which is a byproduct of having anger too long. And then he tells you why in the 27th verse. He says, and neither give place to the devil. What he's saying is that when you are angry for too long, it opens doors that gives the enemy of your soul, of your livelihood, of your peace, of your happiness, access to your life. And not only access to your life, but to you. And he's saying that anger will open the doors wide and let this enemy of everything you love and hold dear come in and wreak havoc. Now, that's a tall order, but what I like and what I love about God is that when you look at the text, he says, be angry, but don't sin. So what he's telling us, how many of us got a little anger problem every now and then? Every one of us, right? So, but what he's saying is he's not depriving us of our ability to feel what we feel. Because he says, be angry. He said, I'm not going to stop you from feeling how you feel because I gave you those feelings. It's just that when sin happened in the garden, now your feelings and your emotions betray you. So he's saying, I'm not going to stop you from feeling how you feel. That's not the problem. You can be angry. He's saying, just don't let how you feel hang around too long that it turns into something else. Because what he's saying is your feelings will have you feeling angry for so long that anger turns into resentment. And resentment turns into bitterness. And then bitterness turns into unforgiveness. So now I'm no longer angry at what happened, but now I don't forgive you for doing it. That's what it happened. That's what anger is. It's a seed. I go from being mad at you and what you did, but it hung around. I let the sun go down on it. It hung around so long that it became more. And yet God says, I'm not going to stop you from feeling how you feel, because the truth is, if you are a human being on this earth, you have gone through some things. And let's not act like all of it felt. It was some injustices done. There were some things we have to take some credit for. There are some things that are self-inflicted that we put our own self into, that we did and we got the result. But there are some things that we had nothing to do with, and we were on the end of other people's stupidity or other people's dysfunction that were injustices to us. And he's saying, for that, feel how you feel. But here's a rule of thumb that I live by. And it says, yeah, feel how you feel, but always judge how you feel by the facts. You ever heard that before? Feel how you feel, but judge how you feel by the facts. Because the facts will determine if how you feel is legitimate. If you ever talk to anyone and you listen to them talk long enough, and you actually listen to them, talking about the right before you tune them out. If you listen to them, you'll hear them, I just feel like, and you're sitting there like, well, you feel how you feel, but how can you feel that way? Because I don't see or hear any facts that support how you feel. You ever had someone, I don't think you love me, I don't think you care, and I just feel like, and you like, how you feel like that when I just did this? Because the facts don't justify how you feel. So could it be that how you feel is true, I feel this way, but I haven't looked at the facts to support if how I feel is really accurate? You ever got into a heated conversation? And then after the fact, after you start slowing the person down and slowly bringing them out of their feelings, they're like, well, you know what? You're right. I didn't look at it that way. You have to all feel, that's what the scripture said. Feel how you feel. Be angry. Feel how you feel. But if you want to keep anger from becoming something else that you can no longer control, you have to judge how you feel by the facts, because your feelings will take you down a path that you cannot find your way back from. Feelings will get you lost. And so he's saying that we must at all times investigate how we feel. Because to feel how you feel without the facts will cost you too much down the road. Okay? Now, go over here to Matthew. Chapter 18. And this is why I asked you to read this, because it's a lot of reading, and I got more to say than I have time. So I'm just going to read verse 21, and then I'm going to read verse 35. Okay, do you have it? Verse 21. Then the apostle Peter, Jesus' disciple. Now, I'm trying to get you to see something. The apostle, Jesus' disciple, follower of Jesus, believer in Jesus. He says something which reveals all of our humanity, doesn't it? Now, this man was an apostle called by Jesus. He was a follower of Jesus. He sat up under Jesus more than most people that were around. He was in his inner circle, and yet his humanity comes to the surface. And he has a similar question like many of us have had at some point in our life. Look what he says. Then came Peter to him and said, Lord, let me holler at you real quick. God, come here. I got to talk to you. I don't want everybody else to hear this, because I'm Peter. I'm the rock. And I'm going to preach and get 3,000 saved on Pentecost. I don't want everybody to know what I'm struggling with. Let me talk to you, Jesus. How often shall my brother sin against me and I forgive him? How many ever felt that way? You had that little talk. How many times do I have to forgive this? How many times? Because after the third time, it's deliberate. They knew what they was doing. He was looking for an escape clause. And Jesus is going to let him know, no, I built you better than that. He said, how many times do I have to forgive my brother? Is it 70 till 7 times? And Jesus said unto him, I say not unto you unto 7 times, but unto 70 times 7. In other words, he's saying there is no limit. He says, you want me to give you an exact number of times that you should be able to forgive an offense, and I'm telling you that you need to forgive it every time it happens. Now go down here to the 35th verse. Look what Jesus says. 35th verse, he says, so likewise shall my heavenly Father do also unto you, if you from your hearts forgive not some of the people. The ones I like a little bit. Everyone, his brother, their trespasses. He's saying, I'm not going to forgive you if you can't forgive others. It's hard to believe that scripture, isn't it? Isn't that kind of hard? Do we really believe that, what, man, all these people I ain't forgiving, God ain't going to forgive me? Could it be that's why things are being held up in your life? Because if, good God Almighty, if you have, I don't care if you're married or not, if you have unforgiveness in your heart, God cannot bless you the way he wants to, because the unforgiveness in your heart will cause you to use his blessings to get even with the people you haven't forgiven. Ooh, look what I got. See, this is where I want to be honest with you, because how many times have God blessed you and in your heart you wanted to show off to somebody that you had a little bit of a... See, it no longer glorifies God, because if my unforgiveness has me trying to show off to you what I have, then now I'm glorifying me. And we'll even do it in marriage. Look what I got, look what you don't have, and then the other one can't be happy for the one who got it because of... So I want you probably by now know what I want to use for a subject. I want to talk about unforgiveness. And I'm struggling because I want to talk about unforgiveness within the context and confines of marriage. But I have a problem, because unforgiveness is a deep root. And unfortunately, we can't just go dig it out of our marriage, because the root wasn't planted in the marriage to begin with. Yeah, I'm going to take you down memory lane today. But I got some help coming on the way. I do, I promise you. You want to blame your marriage for all your little problems. And I wish this morning that we could all take a shovel and go to the spot in the marriage where we were offended and dig up the unforgiveness, and we just skip up out of here and sing oopsie daisy and all that good stuff. But the root was not planted in the marriage. What do you mean by that, preacher? What I'm saying to you is there was a lot that happened. Did I say a lot? There was a lot that happened to us before we ever get married that we bring into the marriage we have. A whole lot. And because we don't take that little small important detail into consideration, what happens is we usually end up trying to blame our spouse for causing a hurt that already existed before they got us. Your fault. Well, you've been living a lot longer than we've been married. How can it be my fault? We brought, and if you don't think it's true, go back and ask yourself, how much work did you really put into getting well before you offered yourself to someone? How much work did you put into really seeking God for who he wants you to have? Or were you just going after somebody because you knew he wanted you to have somebody? How much time did you put into getting over that insult that was given to you in middle school? That has you looking in front of the mirror and has you late to work every day because you can't get out in front of the mirror because you want to make sure everything is perfect because somebody called you ugly. Or you chase a lot of secular degrees because somebody called you stupid, and you think that if you get it on paper, now you become smart. See, I'm asking you something this morning. I don't want to bore you, but we got to look at this because if you didn't do the work, if you were too busy chasing a man to marry you or chasing a woman to link up with, how much work and how much time did you give yourself to be the best you that you offered them? And I'll be honest with you, and I say this to my shame, but I spent a lot of time seeking God for the right person and fasting and reading scriptures and doing a whole bunch of stuff, and still I brought stuff with me. And now that's somebody who was trying to get themselves ready, and I still came in with some stuff. Now that's me trying. Most of us was still trying to decide if you were going to be saved or not. Latching on to somebody. Can I be real, Brother Brown? Can I just? I was trying and I still brought something. So what about the person who wasn't trying to do nothing except get somebody? Is it safe to say that in some ways, maybe we were already damaged goods and we brought that damage into a marriage, and now because we're in the marriage, we want to blame the person closest to us for all of it? Well, I wouldn't be like this if you didn't. Look, I ain't got that much power in the world. Neither do you. To where you've been living for X amount of years and then you got me for a couple of years and I just destroyed your whole life. I just made you, come on, man, you already had it. You brought it with you. And I'm worried about it because the Bible says in Hebrews 13:4 that the marriage is honorable, and because we didn't do the work on me, we were dishonorable coming into something that was honorable. Can I share something with you? And this is about nobody in here, but over the years, I've had the privilege of talking to a lot of different married couples, and I'm going to tell you something. What's scary is I know husbands and wives who have been married for years, and neither one of them know that one was raped and the other one was molested. They don't know. They don't know. They don't know that one was raped and fondled, and they don't know that both of them got some things that happened to them, and both of them kept the secret because they thought if they told the truth, then the other one might not want to get married. So they come into it keeping the lie. Now, what does that mean in the divine scheme of things? I'm getting ready to tell you. So now you got a husband who was molested, you got a wife who was raped, and they're not telling each other. So now because of what happened before they came into the marriage, now they're beating each other because of how they interact. Based upon a secret nobody wants to tell. So they would think, the husband and wife would think, man, my marriage, it's that person in the marriage treat me this way, and it's that person in the marriage treat me way, when it's really neither. It's the fact that they brought some things into it. They brought some dishonorable things into an honorable situation, and neither one is really at fault for the dysfunction because neither one of them are the cause of it. And so it's important to talk about unforgiveness because nothing will ruin a marriage quicker than unforgiveness. Notice here, I want you to hear my words. I didn't say that unforgiveness will destroy your marriage quicker than anything else. Because a lot of us can be unforgiving and we can still call each other sweetie, honey, and babe. So it ain't going to destroy your marriage because you can still have the trinkets of marriage, honey, babe, husband, wife, the rings and all that other stuff. And so you can still have that, but I said ruin your marriage. It means it'll make your marriage less than what it's supposed to be and cause your marriage to give you less than what it was supposed to give. And so we get married with unforgiveness, and guess what happens? We start treating the person closest to us worse than we were treated ourselves. In Matthew 18, that's what he said. When the wicked servant who was forgiven much. He was forgiven so much that the Bible just said forgiven much, too much to name. Not enough ink to pen all what he was forgiven from. It said that the wicked servant was forgiven much, but he couldn't find it in his heart to forgive his fellow servant who needed to be forgiven for less. And the Bible said that he beat his fellow servant and treated him like boo-boo. That's what happens when you have unforgiveness. You treat people close to you worse than you were treated yourself. And so by the time you figure out that unforgiveness has you, see, I'm trying to teach this, man, because you can be years into your marriage before you figure out unforgiveness has you. Because, you know, in church people, we think because you apologize and I say I forgive you that we forgive. That's what we've been trained to believe, but I'm learning forgiveness takes time if it's going to last. And forgiveness is a process that takes more than a day. Forgiveness takes time to reflect on what you did to somebody else because you got hurt before you met them. Yes. And by the time, years into this thing, vacations, roses, and birthdays, and anniversaries, and all that other stuff we do, years into all of the formalities of a marriage, you find out forgiveness has you. But because you're so many years in with it, you've already damaged the other person who God may in fact wanted to use as an instrument to heal you. So now how can the person God wanted to use to heal you when you're the one that wounded them? I wanted to use that person to bring about your healing because you were damaged. Not that they were perfect, but they had something in them to heal you. But because it took you forever to diagnose that unforgiveness had you. And that's why you act out the way you do. You damaged the physician. You got the physician sick that was supposed to bring about your healing. See, here's what we got to understand. I told you it wasn't for the faint at heart. And if you're not going to act your age, go on and cancel it out now. Because what we're going to have to understand and elevate in our mind to understand is that letting things go is not giving the offender a pass. You got to get past that first, because in your mind and in my mind, we already know in our humanity there's an anger there. No, I ain't going to let them get away with that. But forgiving is letting something go, and letting something go is not giving the offender that hurt you, betrayed you, scandalized you a pass. Letting things go is letting the offense pass away. You see the difference? And see, because a lot of us didn't understand that, and because a lot of us have to still grow in that grace of understanding what real forgiveness is, and it's not just a I forgive you, let's go on with life. Many of us, we came into the marriage damaged. Because what I'm teaching now, you didn't even think about before you married somebody. It didn't even cross your mind. Never. And so we came in damaged goods, and we came in with hurts that had already happened in our life that we never gave ourselves time or even permission to heal from. And we tried to use church as a method to heal us. And the problem where church failed is all you heard when you were hurting was in church. You never really heard in church people spending a lot of time dealing with you getting well. But you heard 90% of preaching talking about get married, get married. Boy, you better get married, man. You better where your Boaz. That's all you heard, all these catch lines and punch lines and cliches. And we heard get married, get married, get married. Better to marry than to marry. We heard all these different things so much until we started believing that marriage was some kind of miracle drug that would solve all our problems. You heard it from your parents. Oh, you got to get married. Otherwise, I don't want you to have sex with nobody. You better get. We heard it from everybody that meant well. And in our mind, you hear it enough. A miracle drug, a miracle drug. If I just get married, everything's going to get better. If I get married, everything's going to get better. And what happened was we jumped on the marriage, the miracle drug, only to find out it didn't fix the problems. It only made our problems worse. What a mind-blowing experience to think that if I do this like the preachers say and like the good church people tell me to, it'll fix my problems. And then I get it and it creates more problems than I had single. See, here's what you don't understand. I like to say this, and I've been using it for years. I'm going to use it again because it's a good analogy, and it's a very true analogy. When you marry a person, you're not necessarily just marrying a person. You're marrying a mirror. That's where the problems come in, Charles. Because I'm not just getting a person, another human being. I'm getting a mirror. And just like a mirror, I'm marrying a person who shows me different angles of myself that I can't see with my own eyes. I look at me from my angle, I see Superman. From their angle, they're showing me Clark Kent. And not only does it show you angles like a mirror, but it also reveals things to you about you that you never in your wildest dreams and imaginations thought existed. I've heard someone years ago tell me, they approached me and they said, I used to be a good person till I got married. I used to be a good person. I used to be nice. I was kind. I was generous. I was unselfish, and I was a nice person until I got married. And I pondered that for years, and it came back to my mind when I was preparing this message. I said, now, what would make someone say I was a good person until I got married? Well, here's the answer. Marriage shows you things about yourself that being single doesn't. When I'm single, if you get on my nerves, I don't have to see you no more, talk to you no more until I want to. But when I get mad, I'm just making sure. I'm glad somebody awake and ain't looking crazy. I'm glad somebody getting what I'm saying this morning. I'm trying not to get too erratic. I'm gonna stay at this tone because at the end of the day, I don't have to see you no more if I want to until I want to. You put me on the back of a milk carton because I'm missing. You don't even have to. But that's single. So I think I'm cool because I can run from things. But when I'm married, I have to live in the same house, sleep in the same bed sometimes with my problem. Charles, am I in the house? Y'all better shout me down. We can teach this serious subject and still have fun because it don't change the truth. I'm confined to confront my problem, and when I gotta live with my problem, sleep with my problem, eat with my problem, talk about bills with my problem, talk about the kids I share with my problem, it can bring the worst of you out. In fact, it will bring whatever is in you to the surface. Because marriage serves as a pressure cooker. You know, a pressure cooker, you can cook stuff a lot quicker than you normally would because it applies so much pressure that whatever you need done happens fast. That's why you can blow up quick. Been at work looking like the perfect worker, looking like the asset to the company, the one that they can depend on, and you get home and you like, I left that dude at the job because it's a pressure cooker. Don't act like your marriage doesn't create pressure. It makes you hot real quick. It'll make you explode and it'll bring some things out of you that wasn't there when you were single because you could run from all of that. So you would tell, where you at? Hey, look, you mess around and get blocked. I didn't see, no, y'all, I have seen with my eyes, y'all. Y'all would have joked with me. I have seen with my own eyes, and I don't wear no glass. I've seen husband and wife block each other. For real. And then their excuse is, well, I ain't really do it on purpose. I just hit the wrong button. No, man, it's a lot of buttons you had to press to block that person. But it'll bring the worst out of you, and that's why we're dealing with the unforgiveness, because when I'm living with the problem, sleeping with the problem, eating, talking with the problem, there's a pressure that develops that bring things that's in the deepest part of me to the surface. That's why he said, from the heart, we must forgive. So if I must forgive from the heart, what that tells me then is that unforgiveness lives in the heart, which is the deepest part of you and me. And because it's at the deepest part, that word, unforgiveness, lives in the deepest part of who and what we are, it's not easily seen, is it? It's not always easily detected. So what happens is sometimes we tell ourselves that time has healed what happened, when in fact what happened has just been suppressed. That's why sometimes you can look nice. And you can look and seem caring. And you can be the epitome of what a good Christian looks like until the wrong subject comes up. Did you hear me? How much power a subject has. You can be the definition of divine until the wrong movie come on. And the wrong part of the movie come up, and then now the other person sitting over there, it's a movie! Sucking their teeth and going, ain't no steak or nothing, just. And I know that's a fact because that happened to me. And you. Recently. It happened to me in my marriage. Came out of a divorce, a very bad one. And I remember my ex-wife was just trying to humiliate me without cause. And Deke, you helped me move. You remember that. Deke helped me move. And I had a whole bunch of brothers and deacons helping me move. I always was accountable. I was single, but I was always accountable. I wasn't nowhere nobody could accuse me of that. And my ex-wife was accusing me of a whole bunch of things. And I'm like, I know that ain't true because they was with me the whole time. Deke was trying to get my furniture. That's why he was, but I had accountability, and it was a painful divorce, and she tried to take everything from me, man. Everything. And they know I wasn't living foul. They was with me all the time. Brothers was always around me. And I remember when I got married, I did everything I could to try to keep myself together, but I remember I was riding one day with my wife, and I'll never forget this because it blew me away because I said, no, I did the work to come in my marriage right, you didn't. And I remember we was riding down the street in Hinesville. I know, riding by, going past a bank. I remember it. And she told me, and I said, I want everything in my name. I remember I said that. And her response was, I'm not so, she said the lady's name. She said, I'm not so-and-so. And that cut me to my heart. And I said, why would you say that? And I went home and I thought about it. And I said, because that's what happened to me. And I had to understand this is not that. I watched a movie one time that dealt with the woman cheating on the husband. And my wife was in a whole nother country, and we got on the phone, and I was mad. What you doing? Where you at? Who you with? Why you sound like that? And she like, what's going on? Till it got so bad till I had to throw the movie away because it had that. The movie brought back memories, and it reminded me I wasn't healed. For some people, it's a movie. For some people, you hear the right song at the wrong time, and you're going to think about some things that happened when that song was. For some people, it's a restaurant. You don't like to go to certain restaurants because somebody you used to go with who broke your heart, that was his favorite spot, and y'all had good conversations there, and now you don't like to go. Your spouse thinks you just don't like to eat spaghetti. It ain't the spaghetti, it's the atmosphere, the restaurant, something happened there. See, so for some people it's a movie, some people it's a song, some people it's a restaurant, some people it's a pay, some people it's a scent, it's a certain smell. I hate that cologne because when my ex beat me, I used to have to smell that scent. It could be a lot of things. And it only takes that little thing to bring to life what we've suppressed and told ourselves, I'm over that. Why have you convinced yourself you're over it? Because you're not around it? I suggest to you, if you really want to know what you heal from, get around it and see how you feel. You know, the best thing that ever happened to me, my wife was MP, so she loved to call, she thinks she's a makeshift FBI and all that, right? I'm going to tell you the best thing that happened to me, and I'm being transparent because this is a tough subject, but I want to be real. I'm qualified to be right here. My wife one day went on Facebook and Googled and looked up my ex-wife, man. And one day she going to pull the picture up while I'm sitting there. Waving it all in front of me. That was the best thing could have happened to me. You know why? I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel bad at all. I was like, oh man, that's good. She put on a little weight, but that's good. I felt nothing. See, why was that a great day? Because I knew my heart had let something go. Some of you, you're calling deliverance abstinence. You're calling healing avoiding. I'm good because I ain't around it. I want to be able to be around it and not feel anything. I got people in my life that if I pull up Facebook and I see their picture, I don't feel nothing no more. And it used to be a time where I couldn't look at it long because, and I would replay all the bad things that happened. Now, oh good, that's good. Congrats, kudos to them. And I keep it moving. What can you be around and not feel? See, the problem with unforgiveness is whatever happened to you that you didn't heal from is in you because it lives in your heart. And because it's in you, wherever you go, it goes with you. Even into the fresh start of a new marriage. See, the miracle drug, I need you to get off the pharmaceuticals, okay? Okay, get off the miracle drug theory about marriage because here's the thing. When you got married, you thought, I'm good. I'm fixed. But that's not the case. You told yourself that I'm coming into something big, a new marriage. Look, my last name is changing. That's a big deal. We're going to share bank accounts. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. And you think somehow because you got a fresh start in a marriage with somebody else's life that all of that behind you just disappeared. When you marry someone with unforgiveness in your heart, what you're really doing is marrying that person with a shield in one hand and a sword in the other. You are ready. You're marrying this new person ready to fight and defend yourself in a battle that has not happened. Because you promised your past that the past would never happen to you again. So in essence, you marry someone expecting what happened to happen again. Do you really understand the magnitude of what I'm saying? You marry someone expecting what you didn't heal from to happen again. So you marry all ready to fight. You marry armored up, weaponed up. You're just waiting on it to happen. Because it ain't going to happen. They're going to get me next time. Yeah, you caught me off guard, but it ain't going to happen again. Do you know how many of us married married thinking, if you're a woman, you married with this on your mind while you looking at them across from the aisle. All men cheat. All men are dogs. I do. You married with that in your head. Now you tell me you was ready to marry anybody when in your mind you've been indoctrinated by life before your spouse that all men cheat, all men are dogs, all men lie, all men got secrets. And now you get somebody who's transparent, you don't know what to do with them because you only prepared for a defense. You're not truthful a lot, not because you don't, I'm going to deal with the men in a minute, but if the woman, you're not truthful a lot because you've told yourself that if I open up too much, they're going to hurt me. They ain't going to tell me the truth anyway. They ain't going to be, and the last man didn't stay, and I still don't know why he didn't stay. I don't know why he wouldn't wife me. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's something wrong with me. So if I say too much, this one gone too. You married thinking that. You were thinking that right before you said I do, you were thinking that. Who marries thinking that? The man don't stand a chance. And if you're a man, you were sitting over there in your tuxedo thinking about, man, should I get a prenup? Because all women are gold diggers. Most of the women I know, they just want what I can give them. And man, if this don't work, she getting half and a child support payment. We marry thinking like that. If not at the altar, before the altar, and if not on the altar, after the altar, somewhere in the honeymoon. You laying up thinking these things. So the other person doesn't stand a chance because you married with a shield and a sword, expecting what happened to you in the past to happen to you again. I told you I wish we could just dig the unforgiveness out of our marriage, but that's not where it was planted. We brought it in with us. Just like a Happy Meal, the burgers, the fries, and the drink. It all came together. It came with the package. But see, here's the good news. To forgive or not to forgive, it's not a choice. It's your choice. You get to exercise power over your life in that area. I can choose to forgive or I can choose not to forgive. And so if I have power over that element of my life, that means I have to decide that I am not what happened to me, and I'm not going to let what happened to me hold me hostage to reliving it over and over and over and over and over and over and again. My wife cannot decide that for me. I have to decide that for me because she didn't have nothing to do with how it got there in the first place. I know we want to dig our spouses out and spouse want to dig the other one out, but your shovel can only dig so deep because you can't take responsibility for things that happened before you came on the scene. In fact, what you need to be worrying about is making sure you done dug unforgiveness out of your own heart and quit trying to. Because let me tell you something, if a person has unforgiveness in their heart, I don't care how gifted you are, you can't help them. Because they're going to always, you could be God's gift to your spouse, but if they got junk in their trunk, if they got issues in their heart that are unresolved, you can come as the divine representative himself or herself, and they're still going to defend and fight you because they're expecting what happened to happen again. And no matter how you say it, you will always say it wrong because that's how they process things, because the unforgiveness in their heart won't let them let what happened go. So you have to decide that you're not going to be a hostage to where I just got to keep reliving what happened. Isn't that how Jesus described unforgiveness in Matthew 18? He called it a prison. So when I have unforgiveness in my heart, it means I'm living from a small cell where the crime scene happened. So everything in my life is lived from the revelation of the crime scene. Every opportunity that comes, well, I gotta run it past what happened the last time. Every new person that comes into my life, well, I gotta run it past what the last person did. Okay, every new thing, well, I gotta, before I can even engage that, I gotta make sure I run it past my last experience. Because I'm imprisoned by what happened to me, and I cannot escape it because unforgiveness will not give me the key. Unforgiveness will wave the key in front of me and tell me, yeah, you know, freedom would be nice. But the price for the key is to forgive and have a maturity that says to forgive you does not mean I'm giving you a pass. It means I'm letting what you did to me pass away. See, I'm going to tell you something. I've been through, before marriage, after marriage, things that have literally tried to destroy me. Literally, Brother Brown, tried to take me completely up out of here, Deacon Williams. Snuff me out, sift me like wheat. But you know how I've learned to continue to heal, keep going, and moving on without taking it with me? You know what I did? I chose to learn from what happened to me. I'm going to take you somewhere. I chose to learn from what happened to me. See, the issue is unforgiveness wants to keep you in Ephesians chapter 4, where you're too angry to learn from what happened to you. Some of us, certain things that have happened in the course of our life have made us so mad, you can't even think about it too long without putting a hole in the wall. Unforgiveness wants you mad. It wants you trapped in Ephesians 4, where I'm angry, but I sin. I'm angry, but if I think about it too long, my anger is going to become something else. Think about the things that you've gone through. It'll make you mad. And unforgiveness wants you so mad that you can't learn from what you went through. Let me tell you something, and I'm going to give you some scripture to back this up. It wasn't until I was willing to sit down in the classroom of my worst experiences and learn from them that it taught me something. What it taught me was everything that happened to you was necessary for the bigger picture of God's plan for your life. Anger won't let you get that revelation. Anger going to say, well, when the Holy Spirit is trying to reveal to you what it was all about, Well, this is why this had to happen. You're going to cut them off and say, well, no. I hear all that, but right now I'm hurting. Right now that wasn't fair. Right now they knew better. You got to sit through the class. Because what God was showing me was that in order to help a lot of different people, I had to let you go through a whole lot of different things. And see, the reason a lot of you cannot help people the way you should, been in this thing forever, and you still don't have a lot to offer. Do you understand why? Because you became angry with what happened to you. In fact, so angry that you didn't learn nothing from it. And yeah, you can sit down with a whole bunch of damaged people and talk about, oh, I relate because I went through that, but you didn't come out with nothing. In fact, what you went through took more from you than it gave back. And so what do you really have besides a damaged individual who done been through a lot? See, you've never thought about sitting down learning from what happened to you, as bad as it was. When the scriptures tell you plainly in Hosea 4 and 6, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Hold up. So the only thing that can destroy me, I don't care what it was, and I've been through all of it, but the only thing that can destroy me is what I am not willing to gain knowledge from. Isn't that what he said? My people are destroyed because of lack of knowledge. They're destroyed because they won't surrender to what happened and gain knowledge from why it happened. That's why you're just all just damage. I've been through a lot, but you can't give nobody no keys because you still in prison. Talking about freedom. You try to share theories about freedom and what the Bible say about freedom, but you ain't never tasted it because you just as locked up as the other prisoners. And y'all work with prisoners. I know you heard them talking about freedom and freedom. That's all they can do is talk about it. Because the one person that can't tell me about freedom is somebody who's locked up with me. So you've got to learn, because the only thing that can destroy you is what you do not gain knowledge from. It can't just happen to me, but I need to know why it happened. And what was the purpose of God allowing it to happen? See, unforgiveness don't want you to learn from it. It wants you to hurt from it. Just hurt. Don't learn nothing. Matter of fact, hurt so bad that you can't go back to the crime scene and examine it long enough to gain the knowledge from it. How many times do you try to go back to the crime scene and the crime scene so bloody, man, by the time you get to that crime scene, you're like, man, boy, I'm just glad to be alive. But you're alive and you're damaged, and it's high time you acknowledge that you are. And that it is not the enemy of your spouse who has not had you long as your life has. Start dealing with the unforgiveness where the unforgiveness was sown into your life, and quit violating people just because they're close. Just because they're within a punching distance. Just because they're within a fussing distance. See, when you learn from what happened to you, you no longer see it as a hurt. You start seeing it as a help. Hold on, this don't hurt as much now because it's helping me. It's helping me now. And not only is it helping me, I'm starting to thank God for that experience. Now, hear me. I'm not saying I'm thanking God that I was abused, I was beat, I was molested, I was fondled, I was raped. I'm not thanking God for the event. I'm thanking God for the experience that I gained from it. No, you would be a fool to say you glad somebody raped you or took your innocence. You'd be a fool to say that. This not no. I'm thanking God for the experience I gained from it, because I learned so much from it to the point I gained more from it than it was able to take from me. Some of you, you're angry with things that happened to you because it took more from you than it left behind. Got nothing to show for it. So what do you have to show for the things you experienced? What can you pull out of the resume and say, yep, this happened, this happened, this happened, but this is what I learned, this is what I learned, this is what I learned, this is what I learned? Or do I just keep recycling my resentment, my anger that became resentment, that became bitterness, that became unforgiveness, and because I really don't know how to diagnose it, I just begin to act out and produce the fruit thereof on the person I say I love. The only way to overcome the vicious cycle of unforgiveness is by truly, Jesus said it, forgiving from the heart. Why did he say from the heart, besides the fact unforgiveness and forgiveness lives in the heart? Why did he say forgive from the heart? The heart, the deepest place within ourselves. He says, in order to forgive from the heart, it goes beyond regular forgiveness because it's from the heart. So to forgive from the heart means I have to forgive from a deeper understanding of why the person did what they did. That's what Jesus did, wasn't it? When he was on the cross in the book of Luke. Wasn't that what he did? He was on the cross looking at the Roman soldiers, stick him in the side, cuss him out, mock him, and call him everything but a son of God. And Jesus, who knows the heart of men, knows their thoughts and the intentions of the heart, he looked at these people who looked like they clearly knew what they were doing, and he said, nah, Father, forgive them because they really don't know what they're doing. What I'm saying is to forgive from the heart means I cannot become so focused on the behavior that offended me as I am focused on the reason why. Because you'll look at the behavior as bad and as nasty as certain things that have happened to us is, you'll make the mistake of looking at the event, focusing on what they did, and coming to a conclusion that they must have knew what they were doing. And if Jesus was able to give us the example on the cross, dying for their sins too, the people that was crucifying him, saying, nah, that was the perfect opportunity for him to say, I'm going to die for everybody but them because they know what they're doing. But he said, nah, they don't. It looks like they know what they're doing, but I know their heart, and something is twisted in their heart that has them operating in some strange ways. And I can't get caught up on the fact they're stabbing me in the side with a spear, cussing me out, calling me. I can't focus on the behavior as much as I focus on the fact they clearly don't know what they're doing. That's forgiving from the heart, where I shift what I focus on to, you know what, Dick, you acting a fool, man, and you should know better. But there's something deeper at work. Remember, our worlds taught us everything we know before we got them. Before we got that person, their world had already become their teacher, mentor, and friend. And so you must understand that life all by itself will twist people in some strange ways to do some strange things. And just because what they do sometimes didn't make sense to you doesn't mean they did it on purpose. So if life can twist people in some strange way to do some strange things, why are we so surprised that we married a pretzel? Charles got that. And not only did you marry a pretzel, but pretzels are salty, just like our spouses. Do you hear what I'm saying? Do you hear what I'm saying? So I got one scripture because I think I'm moving past my time. I just feel like I am. I want you to read this because I love for the scripture to consummate everything I said. Go to Psalm. Let's go to 119, verse 71. And I want you to see what a man who has learned something from his experiences, what it looks like, what it sounds like. Psalm 117, am I there? Psalm 1, I'm trying to get there. Okay, I said Psalm 119, right? Verse 71. I was having some technical difficulties. And I said verse 71. Okay, my iPad. See, that's why I like to go old school. I let Nicole talk me into using all this stuff. I like to just flip through the pages. Okay, let me get there. I said 71, right? 119 and 71? Okay. Right. So now, watch this. Y'all remember David, right? King David, the worst and the best king of all time. Remember David? David got caught up in some self-inflicted wounds, right? Where he was punished publicly in front of all the people he led. But then there were also some things that he did not self-sabotage, where a man he sat at the feet of by the name of Saul, a man he served, turned on him. And now look at what Saul says in the 71st, I'm not Saul, but David says in the 71st verse. This is a man who has learned from something. This is what he says. It is good for me that I have been what? Why? What was the purpose of it? That I might statute his word, his command. How many of us can say that? See, he went through the worst of things. Some self-inflicted. Can we check the box? Check. Some that he just got as a result of being betrayed and hurt. Check. But he says, I've learned enough from it to look at the bad that happened to me and say, it was good for me. It was good for me I was afflicted, that I went through some pain, because it taught me something. I learned God's commands. I learned something. The only way you're going to continue to stay in unforgiveness and be hurt and nurse what happened and blame people in your life now for something that happened before they showed up is if you do not learn from what happened. So how do I forgive? Because you tell me, learn from it. Go back to the crime scene. Go back there and study it like a forensic scientist, I guess what you call them. Look at the blood samples. Take fingerprints. Because some people that you say were there weren't. Some people that you say hurt you weren't. Check the fingerprints. Make sure you're blaming the right thing. And then after you blame it, feel how you need to feel. But don't let your feelings take you down a path that you can't find your way back from. God bless you.
Well, we trust that you really enjoyed that teaching. I always say, marriage is a school you never graduate from. But if you're willing to become a student of each other, you can definitely pass the class.
Yes, you can. So from our house to yours, be blessed.
God bless.